So good to see you, Pablo.
So good to see you. This is going to be fun.
Letting people in now.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, John. Hi, Joy and Tamara, Marilee. It's so nice to see everybody. Hi, John. Oh, I get to see John's face. Hi, Tamar. John, that beard is looking great. It's definitely a COVID beard.
Yeah, I just unveiled it to the public.
It's been masked the whole time.
Hey, we don't need I can probably double as Santa Claus at Winter Wonderland this year.
You totally could.
I was gonna say.
That idea, by the way. Love that idea.
Yeah, because I'm not busy enough during Winter Wonderland. I might as well lock myself in the corner for an hour.
More than an hour.
We'll get a massive turnout if we let people know on the download that's going on. That will bring a whole new element to people wanting to come out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many football players I could handle sitting on my lap in one night, though.
I feel pretty confident you can handle a lot.
I'm sensing we do something for the holidays, and John, you could be Santa Claus.
Yeah, we do a Winter Wonderland every year since 2008, Jeff. It's super, super fun, and our kids look forward to it every year.
Yeah, so something to consider.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get us started because I want to keep us on time, and people will be joining the call as we get going. But just a few rules. I'm sure you all know. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. We recommend speaker view for the presentation. Sharing your video is optional, although we really love seeing your faces if you guys want to share your face today. And please use the chat to type in all your questions and comments for Pablo, our guest speaker today. Quick update from Autism Tree. So 105 days ago, we started reaching out through our social media because of COVID. And since then, we've reached almost 280,000 people through our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. And it's just pretty incredible. It's for sure the largest impact we've had in 16 years, and it's all because we had to pivot because of COVID. Our posts have been shared over 480 times, which is really incredible. We've never had that many shares. We now have a YouTube channel that has 155 impact videos. If you're not a member or a subscriber, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free, it's easy, it takes 1 second. I'll put the link in the chat. 118 of those videos have been since March 10th. So we've had an insane amount of content that we've been producing and uploading over the last 100 days due to COVID. We also launched a Reading with ATPF series in April in honor of Autism Awareness Month. And since then, we posted 25 videos and reached almost 27,000 people through those videos that we've shared. If you haven't read a book yet for our kiddos and would like to do one, please reach out to me or Rebecca. It's super fun. We've also provided 65 virtual events to date since the end of March. And we have 16 coming up on the calendar between now and the end of July. So if you want to get yourself involved in any way, reach out to us and we can help you get plugged in. 20 of our programs that we offer that are free, 17 of them have become virtual during this time. And we're very excited that we haven't announced it yet, but we are in talks with the city of San Diego to offer our Bridge to the Beach program this summer in person with a smaller scale. We used to have hundreds of kids come out. I mean, it won't be like that. It'll be like less than 20 kids. But that'll be our first in-person event since Shelter in Place went in order. So, and that will be next month. So we're very excited about that, to be working with the city of San Diego lifeguards to make that all happen. So all that being said, we always send a recap email after these workshops. So all this will be in there, and if you have any questions, you can email Rebecca and I personally. I want to introduce Dana Hoff. She's our executive director and founder, and Dana is going to be introducing Pablo Fernandez, our guest speaker for today.
Hi, everybody. So happy to see you. And just let you know, I'm so impressed with all we've accomplished in the last 10 Lunch and Learns. This is our 11th one. And I definitely feel like we've been building on something together. And I hope that you know that when I reflect, I'm always starting with a reflection on the speaker. But it leads me to a lot of reflection of where Autism Tree has been the last 16 years. And I just hope you know that everything that makes Autism Tree possible is the individuality of each of you, which I've said every call, but I want to say again on this 11th Lunch and Learn, is that we value so much. I value so much, not just your time and your energy to be here, but all the cells in your body, the 724 trillion cells in your individual body that make you you. And I just really encourage you to be true to yourself. And it's kind of overwhelming. I've never even done it until, I don't even know, recently. In the last couple of years, maybe, or maybe even more recent than that, is to really listen to my own cells. And then when you do that, it's overwhelming. The answer you get is very clear. And so I just encourage you that in the Autism Tree Foundation's culture, if you don't already know it, we're just so grateful for each person. And the more you share your thoughts and your voice, we all learn together. And I personally feel the most grateful. So on that, today, out of my reflection on our speaker, Pablo, I'm going to bring up my first slide. And what I want you to do is really, I can't see anybody, but will you all participate right now in connecting with me? So what I'm saying is, I want to connect with you, and give me a thumbs up if you'll do it, because I want to see an answer to a question. So I hope, put your thumb up if you'll do it. And here's my question. Please type in your answer, everybody. What have you been doing during shelter in place since March to just to help yourself through each day? I'm going to show you mine. Counting blessings. That is literally the truth. And now, I just don't want to exaggerate. Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday, Todd had his whole trip that we were going on for a training he had to do in Philadelphia rescheduled. And I was actually looking forward to it so I could see Cindy, who's on this call. It's like my number one exciting thing I was looking forward to, on top of connecting with everyone who's involved in our neuroscience conference on the East Coast. And so anyway, he replied, you know, it's really going to be, it's a blessing because we'll get to see Garrett when he's back on the East Coast. And it just jumped out at me because I've been really working on every day trying to count our blessings and asking Todd and Garrett to do the same thing. And our team has been doing this the whole time. And then driving home yesterday, we were out in Las Vegas. Todd had some work out there, and Garrett and I went. And we were driving home last night, and it was very challenging for Garrett. And at the end of it all, we were coming home. We were probably in Temecula, however far that is from our house, maybe an hour out. And he looked at me and he was like, "Mom, what a blessing. Look it, we're out of the traffic." And I just was like so happy the way that he phrased it. And, you know, it just really goes back to, bring that slide up I just had, and I'm going to read it to you. The one we just did. The important thing about bids for connection is that they all have a hidden message. And the hidden message is, I want to connect with you. So give me your attention. When someone makes a bid for your attention, they're looking for a positive response for you to show interest. I'm going to be sending out a 2-minute video as part of this. I didn't want to take Pablo's time, but it's 2 minutes. And I have to say, on this call is Cindy, Poulin, and she lives in Pennsylvania, and is someone I love dearly, Cindy. And when I think of bidding, we spent the day with her and her husband, and I've never seen a couple that bids that much. It means when someone's like, look at that, or it could be even when you're in a challenge, like getting lost driving, you're still connecting. And I've never seen a couple as much as Cindy and her husband. So if you have questions about that on this call, Cindy's the expert on bidding with a spouse. But really, bidding is important in every relationship. If you don't do it, the relationship does not survive. There's statistics on it, and it's like people that do not bid, the back and forth, the looking at each other, the taking in things like, oh, look at that, and the other person doesn't, they're on their phone. 80% success rate in a relationship when you're constantly going back and forth. 30% success rate in those ranges, 33%, whatever, but it's an 80% range or a 30% range, given how much you pay attention when you're with a person you want to have a relationship with. So when we look at relationships that don't work, it isn't always our fault. I know there's many relationships in my life where I put out a lot of effort and I didn't get that bidding back, and I'm tired. And I just, it's not that I don't want it, I just don't have the energy for it. Relationships are a lot of energy, and we need this energy. And particularly now, I think, like, I am wanting to take my little time with you at Lunch and Learns to try to even have a little more connection, because I'm so grateful to just see your face, but I want to even hear something from you, even see you type in something. I look at it after, and it just means so much. Okay, let me bring up the next slide. Bidding in communication. So a bid is an attempt from a partner or any person you're in a relationship, whether it's professionally, personally, or your loved ones, for attention, for affirmation, for affection, for any other positive connection. It could be a simple thing like a request or advice for help. I want to tell you one thing that happened yesterday, and I'll bring up the next slide when I'm talking about it. What's the next one, Rebecca? Is there another slide? Okay. Here we go. Okay, so 5 relationship essentials. None of these are going to be a surprise. Trust, respect, love, attention, and communication. And when I was thinking about, how I felt yesterday, somehow my iPhone did something. It went live and recorded something. I had no idea. And it went up on my Facebook. And John, thank you so much. Like, you don't know how much these little things mean, but John Hickey, so grateful to you. Like, text me right away, let me know it wasn't bad. And I just thought, I feel so blessed by you, John. I just, that's just you. You're always going to be looking out, and I can't imagine running this foundation without you. You just mean so much to me, and thank you for yesterday. It's just another form of bidding, and sometimes, it's like that. He just puts them right away, and it just reaffirms the trust. It reaffirms those 5 fundamental things that a relationship needs. And I think that at Autism Tree, everyone, when they really get involved with the foundation, we have that, and we don't take it for granted. And I don't take it for granted. And even some of you on the call that I don't know, I want to, not just see your face, but hear you more. So I'm going to make this effort. And in why this kind of came together is, yes, we've been building for 10 weeks, but also when I think about Pablo, he just literally breaks the mold on being able to tell us as a foundation, a community, a family, his why. So the first time I really remember learning from him, he did an inspiration, and he really, really, really showed us his why. And it was really about how he, used to be a hard charger in the corporate world, very successful, working really long hours, like is usually required, and just, didn't have that time with his grandmother, who was really about connection and just bringing people together and feeding them. And so I'll never forget that he had everyone at that meeting get up and hug someone they didn't know. And that was sort of like, oh, wow. I think we were all just looking around a little, even me, and I love hugging people. I was thinking, who am I going to hug that I don't know? And it also really touched me because Shane, another board member, and I don't remember if Pablo probably wasn't on our board at that exact moment when he did the inspiration at a core team meeting, came up and hugged Pablo. And I just thought, wow, that's really cool too. And like the guys were hugging each other. And ever since Pablo came to Autism Tree, he brought a whole different level of connection where that idea of hugging someone you don't know maybe first, and really also talking about what you're passionate about and what you're doing as opposed to maybe your career and that kind of thing is not something that he brings to the table with his secret tables and bringing people together, which I think we just all really valued. And I try to illuminate Pablo on these calls is like, what is the connection, almost like introducing a family member to the group on these lunch and learns. And Pablo has literally been the catalyst for bringing more nutrition and farming and all this type of thing through Carolyn Cates, who's running it now. It was all Pablo. The only grant we've ever got that was more than we asked for was a Kaiser grant for the farming program. So it's really a testament, Pablo, to the connections that you make beyond Autism Tree and bring into the foundation. But what I want you to really know for me is that when I did a reflection and just really thought about everything that we've experienced with you, me personally, Garrett and Todd, you make us want to focus more on connecting over a meal, connecting in a more personal way. And I love that. And I think we all need that more than ever. So I'm really personally looking forward to learning from you today and interacting with you. And I'm so grateful for everyone here to meet Pablo and get to know him too. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful.
And this quote I picked for you, what you focus on grows, what you think about expands, what you dwell upon determines your destiny. And this is absolutely a quote that I see you in, Pablo. I mean, you have completely transformed your life since the day I met you, and you're still doing it. And I want you to know I am a fan of you and your work and the way that you live your life. And I love this quote for you.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. I'm so honored and inspired by your introduction and such beautiful words. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a few things that I can say about the introduction itself. I'll just start off by being very candid with this amazing group of humans that has gathered here today to say that my transition through COVID has actually been really tough. It's been tough on me. I'm John, virtual hugs. Hey, brother, love you. One of the fuels that I thrive on is human connection, and it's being able to hug people. And so when COVID hit, one of the first things that I mourned was the opportunity that I saw leaving us to do that freely, at least for a while. But I'll get into that. What I wanted to start off with, if this is possible for everyone on the call, I would love to see everyone's face. So I don't know if it's possible for everyone to turn on their cameras. If it's not, I totally understand. I'm going to go to gallery view now. If anyone has any comments or thoughts or questions that they want to pop into the chat at any time, please do. Or if you want to unmute yourself, feel free to interrupt me. I'd love for this to be a conversation, not necessarily just a monologue. So I wanted to kick this chat by asking, well, first, it looks like almost everyone's turned on their camera. Can I see, can everyone wave hello? Okay, amazing. Okay, I'm going to ask everyone to please stand up. I know that we've been doing a lot of Zooming, and a lot of Zooming comes with a lot of sitting. And just to kind of interrupt our pattern here for a second, if everyone could please stand up, amazing. And I want everyone to, just for a minute, close their eyes. And we're going to go into a little bit of a breathing meditation. Close your eyes. Take that first deep breath. Inhale through the nose. Deeply out through the mouth. And again, in through the nose. Out through the mouth. And just focus on this present moment. Keep breathing while I share some thoughts with you. Focus on this moment. Focus on the opportunity that it is for us to gather here and to be with each other, to see each other during this time. And as you breathe, relax your shoulders, drop your shoulders, move your shoulders. Continue to breathe deeply and relax your mind. Focus on your breath. Relax your facial muscles, your jaw. I don't know about you, but when I don't consciously focus on my breathing and my state, I start to clench my jaw. And that builds stress in the body, in the back, in your neck, and your shoulders. Just drop your shoulders and relax. And be in this space as you breathe deeply. Take a deeper inhale this time, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Fill that belly and just relax. And begin to visualize in your mind something that you're in particular especially grateful for in this moment, in this time. Breathe deeper. Release. And begin to create a clear picture of this one special thing that maybe today or in this time you are particularly grateful for. See if you can dig deep into your mind to find something that maybe you hadn't thought of before, something that's come up for you recently that, looking back, you'll realize was something important for you during this time. Breathe even deeper than before and hold it for a few seconds. And release. Now open your eyes. Shake it out a little bit. Shake it out. Shake it out. All right. All right. Now you can sit down again. By a show of hands, was that relaxing? Did that bring you into a calmer place? Amazing. Amazing. So if you are open to it during Q&A, I would love to hear from each and every one of you what that thing is that you are grateful for. And it can be short, it doesn't have to be a long share. Everyone can go for a few seconds, but I'd love to hear it. So keep that in your mind and I'd love to hear from you. I was a little boy. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And actually, I'll start by saying that my family and I immigrated here from Guatemala when I was 3 years old. And we came here. My parents were so brave to leave at that time a pretty conflicted, war-torn country that was going through a bit of a civil war, and fearing for their lives, they came here seeking asylum. And we moved here, didn't have much, didn't know anyone, didn't speak the language, didn't really know what we were going to do. And throughout the years, more family came and we ended up all living together. So the story I'm going to share is during a time when there was about 10 of us living in a small little apartment. And I remember one day my grandfather comes up to me and he says in Spanish, he's like, "Pablito, you want to go on this adventure with me? And I, you know, at that time, I didn't get so much to spend too much time with my father or my grandfather because they were always working. My father worked 3 jobs at that time. My grandfather worked 2. And so any chance that I would get to spend time with them, I was always in. And I'm grateful for the fact that they mostly always made it pretty fun. They knew I was an adventurous kid, and I couldn't sit still for more than a second. I was always running around, probably breaking things and just wanting to get into anything that I could. And so my grandfather comes up to me this day and he's like, I have this adventure planned and I need your help. Will you go with me? And I was like, absolutely. And so I jumped into his truck and we start driving, and we end up in the back of, I think it was a Stater Brothers. I grew up in Riverside, California. And Stater Brothers is like a Vons. And so we're in this back area of a Stater Brothers. It's probably 7 or 8 p.m. It's starting to get dark during the summer. And he says, okay, this is the adventure. You see that big box over there that has a, you know, it's open on the top? He said, we have about a minute or 2. I'm going to hand you a box. You're going to go into that bigger box and you're going to bring out and pack all the food that you possibly can into this box. And we're going to try to beat the clock and get out of here as quickly as possible. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, it's an amazing adventure. I get to go hop into this big tank looking thing. So we walk up to it and he hoists me up and he puts me in there into a dumpster behind the Stater Brothers. And as I came in, I noticed that there was all kinds of food everywhere. There were bags of bread and fruit and vegetables. And he said, okay, go, you have a minute. And so I start packing all this food into this box. And I just thought like, wow, what a cool game this is, right? I had no idea what we were doing, why we were doing it, what was going on. And I turn around and I hand him this box. And he says, okay, good job, pulls me back out and we drive off. And then we drive to this house. No, I'm sorry. Then we drive home and we unpack the box and we bring it in. Right as I bring it in, my great grandmother and grandmother grab the box and they're like, "Oh, mijo, this is amazing! You guys did so good." And then, you know, the next couple days, we went and did it again, brought it home. And one thing that I, in retrospect, didn't realize that was happening was at the time, my grandpa was doing that almost every single week. And he would bring home this box of food and my grandmothers would get it and they'd get a papaya that maybe was bruised on one side and would cut the end off, process the rest of it. It was good food, you know, bread that was just expired, but it was still good. And it was, you know, part of food that we were eating at the time. I had no idea that this had been going on for a long, long time. My grandfather was just beginning to take me on these missions. But then about 3 or 4 times in, my grandfather says, this time there's a second part to the mission. He said, we're going to make another stop. Couple stops actually. And we did the same thing. And on the way home, we ended up stopping by this woman's apartment. And he knocks on the door. She opens the door. And it's this woman with about 5 kids standing behind her. And she says, "Oh, hi, Jorge." And he pulls up this box and hands her this big box of food. And she looks at it and she starts crying and she gives him this massive hug. And I'm standing behind him and I'm looking at her face and I'm just kind of really surprised at what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. And she says, "Oh my gosh, had you not come today and brought us this food, my 5 kids and I probably wouldn't have had enough food to eat for the next couple of days. Thank you so much." So the story goes that we ended up doing this for another 2 years together or so until we moved away and the tradition kind of fell off. But later on, I found out that my grandfather had been doing this for years, not only bringing us food, which we so desperately needed, but bringing other family food in these boxes that he would drop off for years and years and years that needed it even more than we did. And one of the exercises that I began to do now in my adult life, as I just comb back through memories and journal and look at old pictures and ask my relatives to tell me stories of our past, is I've really started to deeply go into the meaning behind these stories and what they've really meant for me and the lessons that I've learned. And what I realize is that that story, that memory was a catalyst for me to learn from and to realize what it is that I'm really meant to do and be here for. And that's to serve other people. And I took that a step further and said, okay, well, there's a metaphor here. I mean, we were delivering food to people. Like I'm here to feed people. That's what I'm here to do. And of course you can feed people in many different ways. And so fast forward through my journey of going through a 10-year finance career and kind of going through reinvention of myself about 7 or 8 years ago, we launched this company that has been focused on being a catalyst for human connection and bringing people together around the dinner table. And so as I go back to these memories and these stories, I realize more and more and more how significant they were, how impactful they were on my life and my formation and how I see the world now. And so the reason I share that story is because that's actually one of the exercises that I've been focused on now that I wanted to share with you guys, which is I think that we all have many, many stories in our past that if we really started to focus on them and think about them, think deeply and pull the lessons and the inspiration and the light that had been shared with us in the past that we experienced, even through some of the most difficult times, I'd venture to say that most of us would come up with a lot of lessons and significant information that could positively impact our present moment and what we're meant to continue to do here. And so aside from that, going through this now in the future and in the present moment, going through this COVID time, it's been incredibly challenging because the business that I'd worked so diligently to build over the last 7 years has more or less now been somewhat canceled. We're in the event business, so it's very likely that we'll likely be the last to open up and be able to do a business as we were before, and it may never be the same again. And so I've been thinking about that very deeply and thinking about, well, how can I still work towards being a catalyst for human connection and for unity and for all of these things that I hold so dearly. And like I mentioned, not being able to hug people has been quite challenging. But I want to leave you with a few ideas, a few strategies that I think will be very helpful during this time, and actually just in general. And these are all things that I've been putting into practice over the last few months, I think more intently because of this pause and this time that we've been going through together. So one of them is, so at first I was on all of these Zoom calls, and at first I was really excited to see people's faces again. So Zoom was an incredible tool in the beginning, just for the sake of being able to have conversations with folks. But then I realized that I was starting to get a little bit like tired and antsy from just being on so many Zoom calls. And so my wife and I, we sat down one day and we said, well, what's one of the things we miss the most about not being able to see family? It's having these deep conversations. What if we started to record our Zoom calls with our relatives, and instead of having them be random, just typical catch-ups, what if we framed them as an interview series? And it made me think back on my grandmother and grandfather, and I realized that there were so many things that I wanted to ask them before they passed away that I didn't get a chance to. And that there were so many things that I wish I would have recorded somehow. My wife is a writer, so maybe the thing that she would have defaulted to was to write them down. I love conversation, and I have many conversations in my memory that I can reference. But what if I would have recorded them? And so about 3.5 months ago, with Melissa's grandparents, we started a weekly, it's kind of turned into bi-weekly now, but at first it was weekly, a weekly interview series with her grandparents, where we scheduled a Zoom call and we asked them all the questions that we ever wanted to ask them, questions about their life, their childhood, lessons they learned, advice they have. And it's turned into this incredible thing that we're doing with our grandparents that's created this deepening of intimacy and connection and all of this discovery of wisdom, knowledge, and just some of the stories are incredibly funny and interesting that would have never happened had this moment not been catalyzed by what we're experiencing. So that's number one. Number two, just because we can't hug strangers doesn't mean we can't increase the hugs that we give to each other. And if you have just one person that you're in constant contact with, you know, they say that 8 hugs are enough. That are, what is it? Eight hugs to survive, 12 to thrive. Well, if we are not able to do that, you know, in our day-to-day lives like we used to before, I'd encourage you to increase the amount and duration of hugs that you give those to those folks that you can. Another thing is, I highly encourage everyone to spend time outdoors. Whatever your COVID personal safety guidelines are, I really, really encourage to get out, preferably in nature. If you can drive somewhere where it's peaceful and tranquil, and just spend time in the sun, spend time breathing fresh air, I highly, highly encourage that. And going back to the Zoom thing, I love how deliberate and intentional these Zoom calls are, because I think that's really the core difference. I think that any moment can be transformed into a moment of deeper connection and a moment that builds intimacy with those that we love and care about by being more intentional and by being open and honest. And so that's been one of the core components of the business and the community that we've strived to build, which is to create a space where we can freely and openly share with each other what we really think and feel, and that we're always, you know, looking for the commonalities, the things that unify us and not divide us. And so I'm going to finish with that and say that I'm incredibly inspired by ATPF, the community, every single one of you. Every time I am reflected back on the connections that we've made and the impact that we've made on each other, they almost drive me to tears. It's incredibly impactful. And I think that we can never do too much to remind each other of how important we are to each other. And so I'll leave it with that. If there's any Q&A, please feel free to ask me anything you like. And if there's anyone that would like to go first to share what they're grateful for, actually, I'll go first. I'm grateful for, in particular, the level of openness that this time has created with my wife, Melissa, and I. I think due to the fact that we've been for the most part in close quarters for such long periods of time, it's allowed for the space for us to perhaps have conversations that we hadn't been either brave enough or had the time to have with each other. And now that has created even a deeper level of trust and intimacy in my relationship. So I'm really, really grateful for that. Who would like to go next? You can unmute yourself.
Tamar, yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. First of all, Pablo, I loved your story. Thank you. It was very heartwarming. It really touched, I think, on every level. It touched my heart. And I think the fact that your grandfather set that example for you to give, he gave you a gift. I think that's beautiful. And I think definitely that's what led you to your path today. For me, it's been family and financially. So because of the COVID situation, my work sent me home. So I work from home. So I feel very fortunate and blessed that I still have a job. So many people don't. My husband works outside of the home. So I'm not able to be with him all day, some people. So that's good and bad. But I think for me, it's been a blessing to be home with my kids. That's something I've always wanted to do. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I've never been able to. And so it's actually fulfilling something that I've been wanting for a really long time. So that's been great. I've been able to spend time with my kids more so. And also financially, it's helped us a lot. I'm saving a lot of money on gas, and I'm not driving to work. And so we've been paying down our bills, and that's been lessening our stress. So I feel so bad for everybody that's gotten sick or have family members that have been impacted by COVID. But on a personal level, there's been a positive for us, with our family. And so I'm grateful for those things.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I can go. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I've been thankful for reading, probably. And I actually wanted to mention to you that I just read this book called Reign of Gold.
Mhm.
And it's basically the same thing that you were talking about. This family in San Diego has a famous historic ranch in Carlsbad. And the grandchild or the great grandchild, who's the author, actually interviewed his grandfather and his family and his grandmother and their family, and they're basically both derived from Mexico. And it goes all the way back to like the 1800s, and these stories are true, where the wife's family came from a box canyon with like a wall of gold. And that's why it's called Reign of Gold. And it talks about how the Americans started coming in and like invading the box canyon, and how the wife's family escaped the United States. And then the father's family similarly came to the United States, and they met and were fruit pickers in Carlsbad like in the 1900s.
Wow.
And then established this ranch. So it's like exactly the same thing you're talking about. And some of the stories are miraculous, but they're all true.
Yeah. Wow. I think I'm going to look into that for sure.
Yeah, it's a great, but yeah, reading probably.
Reading. Excellent. Thank you. Who's next? I saw Melissa raise her hand.
Yeah.
Cindy, you go. Oh, Melissa, you go.
So for those of you who don't know me, I'm an intern at ATPF. I'm a student at USD. So a lot of this time during COVID, my mindset has kind of been like, oh, we're back to normal when this is all over, the things I can do. But lately I've been focusing on being grateful for this time I have to, one, focus on myself, because I am normally so busy. I barely have time to make myself dinner, like just running from classes to clubs to work to whatnot. So that time to do, just really focus on my mental health and to develop deeper relationships with the people that I am seeing has been really important. I've gotten so close to my brother, who is thankfully here in San Diego with me, closer than we've ever been in the 18 years we lived together at home. So that's been really amazing, something I'm really grateful for.
Wow. Thank you. Wonderful. Who's next? Cindy. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm trying. There we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I loved your story. And I want to say it reminded me of my parents getting us to do a number of things that might have felt like they were child labor at the time, but it didn't feel that way. And we really appreciated it and grew up. My sister and two brothers, very close, doing things like that, always trying to give back to others. But with this COVID, my husband was traveling 3 weeks a month, and he's been working out of the house since March 1st. So I've had him here with me all the time now, which has been great. Every evening when he finishes, we go for a 4 to 5 mile walk. We are noticing the birds are chirping, people are out and looking healthier. Families are spending more time together, and people who might have put a lot of hours into work are now taking the time to be with one another, even though they can't be with everybody, all the extended people. I have found Zoom to be very helpful because I moved here a little over a year ago, so I have friends that I've met just this year, but all my family and my husband's family are from all over the place. So before we used to get in the car and go visit, but now that we really can't do that, we've been putting together family Zoom calls as well, and getting my husband's 5 siblings and his father on the phone, who's 85 years old. And, it's been great because even though we're all there and everyone's trying to talk over one another and it may not work ideally, it's great because we're all connecting and we love seeing each other's face, and we wouldn't have done that otherwise. So it's been a good time to get everybody together and see each other on a screen where we would never see each other except for once a year all together.
Yeah.
So, and my daughter is pregnant and became pregnant during this time. So I haven't even seen her since she's been pregnant. And she's sending me pictures every week of her belly growing. So I'm so grateful for that. So it's my first grandchild.
Congratulations. Thank you for sharing. Wonderful.
Thanks.
And I know that it's already 12:45, so I want to hear from as many of you as possible, but I want to be respectful of the time. So who would like to go next? And then if you can just keep it as tight as you possibly can. Unless that's okay, Dana. You guys are...
Oh, I'm fine with that. Is there
Yeah, if you guys want to stand on for another 5 minutes, we can all share.
Amazing, amazing. Who would like to go next? John?
John.
Yeah, I've been taking time a lot more lately to call my mom, who's in a assisted living facility back in Michigan. And I used to call her like once a week just to check in and make sure she was okay. But since she's been on lockdown and not able to have visitors, and they've had a couple people come down with it at her place, but she has short-term memory loss. So I talked to her today at 9:30 our time, 12:30. She didn't remember what she had for lunch 20 minutes ago. But I can talk to her about, remember the bowling alley that used to be at College Ground on University? She's like, oh yeah, we go back to blah, blah, blah. And she remembers every detail about where the concession stand was and what us kids used to do and her bowling team members and everything. So you're talking about recording things that happened today. I've been able to put my mom kind of in the Wayback Machine and go back to her memory of things that she does remember and help her kind of relive those moments. And I've made some notes on some things that she's told me about. And I mean, it's like the fact that I live in the house that my parents bought in '63, and I've been cleaning the garage and finding a bunch of old family stuff and pictures. And one of my best calls was I found my grandfather's box of things he had mailed my mom from Okinawa during World War II. And I opened the box and I called her up and I was like, yeah, I got it. And she's like, oh yeah, there should be like 47 Japanese dollars in there. There were 47 Japanese dollars in that box, or yen or whatever they were. But the fact that she can't remember what TV channel she's watching, but she remembers something from World War II, exact number of how many, Japanese yen or whatever were in this box. And I was just like, I was amazed that she remembers those things. And, I just kind of like, how you looked at the game that your grandfather played and took the positive from it. It wasn't, not to be crass, but not looking back on the memory of dumpster diving. You looked at the positive of how you could do that. I was able to, kind of not the fact that she's losing her memory, but to take the positive and go back to the positive memories that she does have. So that's been a big blessing of me having a lot of time on my hands, because like you, the event industry, I'm not doing a whole lot these days and not a whole lot on the calendar coming up. But being able to do that and reach out to her on a daily basis now has been an absolute blessing. So thank you for.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Amazing. I saw Mary Lee raise her hand.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pablo, for your just your connection to all of us today and the value in that. And I just appreciate that so much. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate so much about Autism Tree is the connections that we do have. And I think that's one of the things I've valued most during this time is the connection between people and how much I value that and how much I need it and how much I need to seek it out. And just, I think what you also brought up is in this conversation that we're having is what's meaningful to us and how has this COVID situation brought us to a different place of what's meaningful in our lives, what's important. It kind of distills it down in a really powerful way. I think when we're not surrounded by busyness, it really helps us focus on what is truly meaningful, what truly is important in our lives. And also for ourselves, what do we need to nourish our own selves and the cells in our body, like Dana was talking about, how precious that is, and how lucky we are to just have that opportunity to think about it, the luxury of time and how precious that is. And of course, you know, my family is really so important, and finding ways to keep connected to them is so important to me, because I have 3 young granddaughters that are in Austin. And so we're trying to find creative ways to stay involved. But I think another really important piece with the examination of race in our country right now is that I'm really committed to using this time to learn more about it and to become much more informed about our history in a very real way, and also think about every aspect of my life and re-examine it, and to really decide what I can do to make this world a better place that lives more truly to the Pledge of Allegiance that we all gave in elementary school. You know, that it is a place for all of us to be free with liberty and justice for all. And I feel that passion just very deeply. And I just feel like these things can't happen again. We have to stand up against these things. We can't have this ever go on again. We have to deal with this and make it ugly. But that's one thing that has come out of this time that I'm also thinking about that may never have come up. So
Thanks,
that's where
Mary.
I am. But thank you so much.
And I would just comment that in my years of experience with every single individual and as an organization, ATPF is just a beacon of light for positive growth and change in our community. So I'm just honored to be a part of this group. Anyone else?
I just have to say, this is our 11th one, and each one has been very different. And I didn't really know what you were going to touch on today, Pablo. Your story moved me to tears for a lot of reasons, but I think the idea of looking at your past and looking at your childhood, or even looking at things that may have been traumatic, maybe you didn't realize they were at the time, but looking at those and trying to you know, sieve out every positive that you can is such a remarkable message for each of us, that we can take those and turn them around and use them. We can pivot that, and we can use it to help others, to help ourselves. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing today. We always send a follow-up email to all you guys afterwards, and if you want to share something, or if you have another question for Pablo, Pablo, if it's okay, we'll put your email in there and people can email you directly. And it was such a special group to have today. I want to say one thing that I was grateful for when we were doing the meditation is my new baby. It's coming soon. So I could feel him kicking while we were doing that. So that's probably why he was the first thing that came to mind. I have many things, but he's the first thing. So
beautiful.
Thank you so much to everyone for today. And Pablo, thank you for your time. And we love you all. Thank you for all sharing and being so vulnerable today. We really appreciate it. Pablo being our
I want to mention one thing, you guys. I had planted a seed, Pablo, about doing something together for Lisa's baby Calvin that's coming. And it's just, you know, with everything that's going on, we just don't want to do anything that would take away from all the positives of us at Autism Tree. I feel like we haven't done anything to take away our efforts, and so we're going to be doing something for Lisa's baby. It's just going to be virtually, which we were hoping to make it more of a connecting real-time thing. But I just want to let you know we are going to be getting that info out of how you can celebrate Calvin, Lisa's growing baby, in the coming weeks ahead. So we missed Lisa last week if you were on here, and she wasn't here, and we were able to get a little taste of her being on maternity leave soon. So I just want to say, Lisa, I'm glad you brought up your baby, and to let everyone know we are going to be doing something fun if you want to reach out to her and baby Calvin that's coming soon. Love you all. And Pablo, so when I was doing my reflection, I was just feeling grateful for you, honestly. So God bless you. Love everybody.
Love you all.
See you all next week. See you soon.
Thank you.